right, guys, so today what I've got for you, we're gonna be doing all things chest for beginners. The reason I decided I wanted to do this kind of video is I see a lot of people in the gym, they're consistently doing a lot of movements trying to hit their chest where, you know, in the short term, things are gonna work out really well for them. But what I see is in the long term, a lot of these movements are gonna cause issues like shoulder impingement, elbow problems. So we're gonna run through a whole list of different common mistakes that we see in the gym and then ways to fix them. All right, so this is Ryan. He's helping me out for the videos today. Super thankful for him to offer me his time. We're gonna talk the chest muscles. So your main muscle here is your pectoralis major. So your pec major is the muscle that's right here on your chest. It attaches up here, roughly around where your armpit is, and it comes all the way across, almost in like a spider web form, across your chest, up into your clavicle, which is your collarbone, and out across your sternum, and all the way down as well. The function of this muscle solely is to move your shoulder joint around your rib cage to the front. When you're doing any kind of chest movement, anytime you're going through your eccentric movement, what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to make sure your shoulder joint moves all the way back as well. So think of your rib cage as like this oval, okay? And then you have your two shoulder joints on this outside, and your pec muscles are gonna pull your shoulder joint around that oval, around that rib cage, and then through the eccentric, your shoulders are going to roll back around to the top, around to your back as well. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out where dumbbells should be sitting for Ryan, how he's lifting, and then we're gonna make some adjustments so that it's good for his body. So this isn't bad, but one of the first things that you can see right here is with Ryan, his arms are coming out at exactly that 90-degree angle from his body here. And so what this is going to do over time is this can cause a bit of a shoulder impingement here, up underneath the front delt. The reason that this can cause a shoulder impingement is your pectoralis major crosses over underneath your armpit, underneath your front delt here. So when you are having your arm fully out at that 90-degree angle, you have your pec actually having to go underneath your front delt in order to attach to that bone. And so you're actually having those two muscles work together. This can cause the muscles to kind of, in a sense, like grow together as well. It's not comfortable in the long run, and it's something that you definitely want to avoid. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take Ryan's elbows from here, and we're actually gonna tuck them in at about roughly a 45-degree angle. We don't want your elbows at your sides like this, but we don't want them out here, so somewhere in the middle, and we're gonna go from there. So go ahead, hop in. So what we're gonna do is, so right about here. Now press up. Yep, press until your arms are fully straight up at the top. And so right about here, yep. Right there. Good, good. On your way up, think about driving your biceps into one another. So your arms are actually gonna get straight at the very top, and the dumbbells should almost feel like they're going outwards at the very top a little bit, just to try to get more of that inner chest. How's that feeling? Good. So one thing to note too, where we're coming down at the bottom of the rep. For most individuals, the most comfortable place for your hand alignment to be would be aligned roughly about nipple height. And this goes for the same for bench press or a chest press machine, which you are going to see in this video. So one thing you're also going to notice here as well is that Ryan has the weights, the dumbbells, as he presses them up, they actually get closer, so his arms are converging. The function of that pec is to pull that shoulder joint all the way around your rib cage, and what that's going to do is that's going to have it so that those dumbbells do get closer as you get closer to lockout. Under most circumstances, the dumbbells are going to travel in a crescent movement, so it's kind of like rounding, or from wide all the way up in a diagonal. Good, thanks Ryan, you're killing it. Next we have the incline chest press machine. It's a really, really good machine. This machine actually does the converging already for you, which we talked about with the dumbbells. So on here, Ryan is gonna lay down and get set up underneath it. One of the things that's super important, again, is alignment, which is I touched on with the dumbbells, is we want to be able to have that close to around that nipple height normally. Now, with this, we're trying to hit more of that upper pec fibers, and so your elbows are actually gonna be closer to your elbow height, and you're gonna be actually pushing upwards in this diagonal motion, because this is the direction of those fibers. Remember, they're gonna come out as kind of like a spider web from underneath your armpit across, and so that elbow is actually gonna be even more tucked like so, and coming up and across this way to be able to hit those upper chest fibers. Now, once you have alignment set up for your arms, we also wanna make sure that you're not too deep when you first start out. So as you can see here, there's actually a little bit of a tiny gap in between Ryan's palms and the handles here. This is exactly how you want it to be able to be set up. If you get into this position and your hands are pushing up on here and you feel like the stretch already across your chest when you're as deep as you can go, you want to raise these handles up just by one height, just to make it so that you do have proper comfort and that it allows less tension to be on that shoulder joint as well when you are in that compromised position. So we're gonna be here, we're gonna get Ryan to start pressing, so the elbows are gonna be tucked underneath. Now that is like a rotation in the shoulder. Good. How does that feel? Good. So what we're watching for here is that his arms are moving in that diagonal motion. So come on down, so right here. So we can kind of see right up this direction. This will be the direction of his upper pec fibers, and so that's the direction that we want his arm to be moving, and that's where we want his elbow to be aligned with. Go ahead. Now on this chest press machine, we do have a second set of handles as well. So we'll go all the way down, Ryan. We'll have you switch handles to those bottom ones as well. Okay, so with these, have your hands all the way up to the top. Now, with these handles, you are gonna be more of that nipple mid-chest height, and this is going to get a little bit more of your full pec as well in the movement. So go ahead. Now, as Ryan is performing these reps, I want him to actually think about pulling his hands together while he presses forward instead of just pushing upwards. Good. What this will do is it'll give a little bit more of that mind to muscle connection, and it's gonna put more tension on the pec than any of the other stronger muscles that could be utilized in this movement, which would be your front delts and your triceps. Okay, you can come all the way down and relax for a second. So I'm gonna be showing you guys and Ryan here proper foot placement and breathing patterns. Why does my foot placement matter? Well, you wanna make sure that you are gonna be as stable as possible so that you have all of the power available. In order to safely have an output on these kinds of exercises, you need to be able to have your feet planted and holding you in one exact position. So what I do is I have my feet stick all the way out, and when I'm sitting on this seat, I actually push myself up slightly into the bench a little bit more, so a lot of my weight is in my legs to force my body to stay stable. As I'm pressing through the movements, I'm thinking about my breathing pattern as the weight starts feeling heavier, as I start getting fatigued. And so the way that my breathing pattern actually is I'm gonna start breathing in here at the top. I hold my breath at the bottom, and then as I press through, once I'm about halfway up, I start exhaling. Now, when you're in the easy reps of the exercise, it's not super important for you to have that kind of breathing pattern. But as you're getting closer to those failure reps where it starts feeling heavy and getting hard, it's where you really need to be able to focus and stabilize your body. So we'll breathe in, you hold that breath, exhale, only near the top. Breathe in, hold that, engage through your core. And so what that is, you're doing like a slight 25 to 30% flex here in your core. Everything is stable and you're pushing through. See how well Ryan can mimic that. So feet are placed evenly there, good. So go ahead and start pressing. So we can see that the quads are engaged, so Ryan is pushing himself up with his feet a little bit to make sure that he's pushed into that back bench. Good, and so we'll breathe in, hold that breath, start pushing, and then exhale. Once you're about 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way up. Go all the way down for a second. Now being we want to show you what it's like when the reps are getting hard, we're gonna just get Ryan closer to failure right away by increasing the load.
Oh, only by a little.
Only by a little bit, Ryan, it's okay. Go ahead and press. Good, so breathe in, hold that, push, exhale, good. Breathe in, exhale, good. In, hold that, push, 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 good. See how his feet immediately want to start going when he struggled a lot? Go ahead, all the way down. All the way down, good. That's going to happen, and that's part of the reason that you want to make sure that your feet are very stable as well, and that you're using your muscles to push you into the bench. Otherwise, you're gonna start tweaking and twirling and trying to find different ways to push that up. And it's no fault of your own. Your body is designed to try to make the movements as easy as possible. That's why you need videos like this, where we kind of run through it to show you how to kind of go against the way that your body naturally is thinking about these kinds of movements. Okay, so we got Ryan sitting up here on the bench press. So for the third exercise that we're gonna be running through, being that, most people, when you start going to the gym, a lot of guys are gonna ask you, hey, what do you bench, bro? It's a common question that gets asked all the time. And so most people, they have this idea, hey, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do bench press, and I'm gonna get a big chest. I'm gonna, Ronnie Coleman, those kind of big boys. I don't normally recommend using the bench press to work on your pecs, but it still isn't a terrible movement to work on your pecs. So I am gonna run through it. It is a very popular exercise as well. So we're gonna kind of go through all of the do's and don'ts and the basics for the bench press. Okay, so we have Ryan here laying down on the bench. And the first thing we're gonna do is we wanna talk about body positioning. So right now, the bar is right above Ryan's chest. What we want, or what I typically would recommend to individuals, is to have the bar actually aligned with their eyes straight up and down. So Ryan, I want you to scooch down a little bit. So now that we have the bar aligned with Ryan's eyes here, this way we don't have to worry about Ryan hitting any of the safeties while performing the reps based off of bar path. All right, so Ryan's gonna show me roughly where he likes to grab the bar. And then we're gonna take a look at his reps and see if there's any adjustments we need to make right off the bat. So go ahead, Ryan. Actually pretty good right off the bat. Do one more rep. I want you to pause at the bottom. So right here, this is the part that I'm actually looking for the most. What we want is at the bottom of the rep, we want your wrists stacked directly above your elbows. And as you can see, Ryan already has that. Now, a lot of that is based off of how wide your frame is and how wide you're holding on the bar. We'll go all the way up and rack it up, Ryan. Predominantly, for almost all individuals, I find this little ring on the knurling here. You wanna have your pinky within 1/2 inch to 1 inch of that ring. If you're too narrow, I want you to go ahead and grab, I want you to have your hands right about here even. You don't have to over-extend it. So go ahead. And what's gonna happen is, as you see, is the bar is gonna come down. Go ahead. Ryan's hands are gonna be inside like this. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna create more flexion at the elbow. So this is gonna be more of a tricep movement now. So this is a close grip bench press. So go ahead and all the way up. Do a couple reps like that if you want. So as the bar comes down, we get more flexion here. We're getting less flexion in that shoulder joint. Remember, the shoulder joint has to roll back in order to stretch the pec properly. So what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna be looking at the bar path from the side view. So as you can see, as it comes down right here at the bottom of the rep, we have elbow and wrist stacked with the wrist just slightly closer to his chin from his elbow. So much so he still has full balance here. And then as he presses the bar up, go ahead, the bar actually travels mildly diagonally upwards. Go ahead, you can do a few reps there. We are aiming for the bar to get close to around that nipple height while he tucks those elbows in. So remember, those elbows are gonna be tucked a little bit, just like with the dumbbell press and just like with the chest press machine. Go ahead. Yeah, and then think about right here in the chest. Good. Now, if you guys are ever in the gym bench pressing on your own, I do recommend using the bench presses that have these kinds of safeties here on the sides as well. So if Ryan was in here bench pressing on his own, what we would recommend is to have this bar 1 notch higher. And so if you're ever in here on your own, too shy to ask for a spot, which you shouldn't be at any time, you can always ask. But this way, Ryan's gonna come all the way down. And if at any point he gets so fatigued he can't get bar back up, he now has these safeties here saving his ass so that he doesn't get crushed underneath the bar. And he'll be able to wiggle his way out from one of the sides. In order to make sure that these are as high as you need them to be, when you first get into the bench press, after you line yourself up and everything, you want to do a couple warm-up reps with the empty bar. Do those warm-up reps and then see if these are high enough as it is to, if you had to, you can have the bar roughly up here near your neck area, where that would be the lowest part of your body, and see if these supports actually catch the bar. If not, raise them up to the proper height so that you can utilize that. Last thing I want to touch about is the bar height. Now, the last thing that you want is to be fatigued and like near lockout, having a hard time getting that bar up to your elbows like completely locked out, and then you're also unable to get this on the safety hooks. The other problem that you might run into is that if these safety hooks are too low, you're not gonna be able to have the power to be able to get it off that low, and it could create a safety issue. So a really good rule of thumb that I want to utilize for most people is we're gonna have Ryan stick his arms straight up, just arms straight up. As you can see, the bar now, we have it set up to his proper height, is at his wrist. What this is gonna do is gonna make sure that when he go ahead and grab the bar, when he grabs the bar and he pushes up and he pulls it all the way back, he's still here on the back of these safeties. What this is gonna do is it's gonna make sure that as he comes out and does some reps, go ahead and do some reps. Good. Press up, one more. All the way up, hold it all the way top. So what we're gonna do here, at the end of your set, when you're on the bench press, you don't wanna have to look at these safety hooks to try to get the bar in there. You just wanna be able to safely put that bar down. And the best way to do that is to just slam that bar back, and you know that you're on those safeties, you can roll all the way down, and you are good to go. So what we have here is we have Ryan setting this up the way that he would normally set up for a pec fly machine. And we're gonna see how he's doing. We're gonna critique him and make some changes and see how things kind of go. So go ahead, Ryan. I actually really like this already. So what we see here is a slight bend in the elbow. Just takes that tension off that joint. Go ahead, keep going. I'll move out of the way. But then his elbow kind of comes down, and this allows that pec to open up. Because again, if his elbow was up higher, this is going to have it intertwine with his front delt, leads to a shoulder impingement. You want to have your elbow pointed back, but you want to be able to have this open so that that pec can go underneath nicely. Go ahead and come all the way through. Good. I want these to touch here at the, yep. Now, one thing that I like to do with individuals, I like to overcomplicate it a little bit and see if we can get a little bit of coordination in there. So Ryan, as you are coming through the contraction, I want you to really push your hands out and straighten your arms here at the end. Good. Yeah, and then as you come back, add that little bend back in your elbows and then come back through. What this is going to do is it's going to add a little bit more of that range of motion to the end of that pec to try to work some more of that inner chest. Anytime that you're trying to work your pec muscle, at the peak contraction, you're thinking about driving your biceps into one another. Good. How's that feel?
Good, I like that one.
Good. So we're gonna give another mobility kind of tip here to try to get him to feel a little bit more. So right here, as you have these pull all the way back, I want you to squeeze your back together back here, okay? So you feel that, and your chin, I want your chin to kind of move a little bit forward. So from here, what you're gonna do is as you push these handles forward, I want you to just pull your chin back, just like so. And I want you to think like as if you're pushing yourself back into that seat and then forward. Good. And what this is gonna do, keep going, is this actually allows his chest to pop even more as he's going through the movement. It's a little bit more complicated than just sitting down for most beginners, but this is a step-by-step process to be able to slowly make it better as well. So straightening the arms out here, pulling that head back, and automatically when you pull your head back, it helps pop that chest up. Good, and drive those biceps together. Chin forward a little bit while you squeeze those back, and then pull that chin back as you go forward. Good. And just like with shoulder press or bench press or any big compound movement, Ryan does have his feet planted, pushing himself into that back bench to make sure that his body is fully stable throughout the entire exercise. How you feeling, Ryan? Good. Burning?
Well, it's starting to get there.
It's a little Bernie. If I was American, I probably would have voted for Bernie Sanders. You know, it's one of those things. When your pec is like fully opened up and fully stretched back, the majority of the time, like, it's going to be compressing and contracting all the muscles in your back, and they're going to be squeezing together like so. And right here is when I have maximum pec stretch. And so as I come through, my back is going to open up completely as I come all the way in and pop that chest up. And then with that head movement as well, it's like part of that body movement, because as my back squeezes, it's going to push your body a little bit forward. And so I let my head move forward with that, and then as I feel like I'm almost like I'm scooping up, I'm letting it push myself back into that seat, pops the whole chest up, and drives that biceps together. Okay, so we got Ryan over here in the pec fly machine, and we're gonna try to make some adjustments to make it fit his body a little bit. So when he comes into full stretch, one thing you're gonna notice is come all the way back, is that his hands are a little high and his shoulder joints are kind of lifted, almost like as if he's struggling here. So the reason for this is that his seat is probably too low. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna raise up the seat and then we're gonna try to align his hands. We want his hands near around his armpit nipple height. And that's gonna be the best height because again, your pec fibers come underneath right here, right around where the armpit is. So go ahead and stand up, Ryan. I'm gonna go probably right about there and try to see how that fits. So grab those handles. The upside with these handles, they're a little bit longer. You do have a little bit of leeway, so you have 1 or 2 notches to kind of play with at the bottom. But now that we have it up here like so, we have the nice internal rotations, shoulders are down. We've got his hand aligned with his armpit. Go ahead and go through. Good. Good, and I think that's proper alignment there. Okay, so that was my beginner's guide to everything chest. Remember that form is always one of the most important aspects when it comes to any of the exercises. Don't worry about trying to push reps or push load at this time until you start getting into the proper rhythm with good form. Thanks again to Ryan for volunteering his time to come and help us out today. And then I will see you guys next week in another video.